Hello everyone, happy Saturday morning. My name is Jose Guzman and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, welcome, and if you're returning, welcome back. Now, whether you're returning or you're new, I have some exciting news for you folks. I should have started this off as, hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Jose Guzman, New York State's licensed real estate agent, part of the Realtor Group, because I am officially a licensed agent and I'm open for business. I'm officially part of Real Broker. I'm excited to start that journey. I don't want to use too much time on this video to talk about that. That's going to be another episode. But if you folks have any questions, please feel free to reach out. My contact information should be in this description and on my channel as well. So I welcome you all and it's going to be exciting. It truly is a blessing. So now that we got that out of the way, a little dropped, we're going to go ahead and focus on what today's video is all about. So last week we talked about Aceable Agent in depth. Today we're going to talk about prepping for the pre-licensing exam. So long story short, I finished the pre-licensing exam, I finished the pre-licensing course, like all of the levels, back in maybe March. And then from March to July is my window of me prepping. And I mean, like, I'm prepping hard. So here's what my schedule looked like. I'm going to go through the schedule and then I'll go over what my mistakes were. Schedule consisted of me waking up at 5 a.m., as I mentioned. That was my me time. That was for me to worship. I have one too many Bibles, but that was my point there. From 6 to 7, I don't really remember what I was doing at that time. On paper, I was supposed to be studying, but I'm almost positive that that was my time for me and my puppy, right? Just training her, walking her, and, just having a good time, just kind of giving her that one-on-one. And TLC, if you will. So what I do recall was 7 to 8. So from 7 to 8, what I ended up doing was I was taking practice exams at some point, and they were 75 question exams. They were emulating what the pre-licensing exam was going to look like. And I would just take it and then just review. Now, I was pretty quick with it after a while. So I was finishing these exams within like 30 minutes. We'll go over what some of those scores were that got saved, but I would finish it by 7:30, honestly, 7:28. So the rest of that time was just me going through and reviewing anything that I got wrong. And that's it. Closed it. And that's where I left it at. The reason why I did that is because I noticed that at night, when I was trying to take an entire practice exams, my brain is fried. I work a full-time job, and after all of that, I just don't have enough juice in the tank to keep on going. So that's why I did it this way. I work my regular hours. Now during lunch, I ended up using Ace Mode. So we talked about that last week, right? Ace Mode was a great dynamic tool that we can utilize and leverage to be able to identify our 3 weakest topics based off of the exams and based off of the other things you're doing in the course. And each topic will give you 20 questions, 20 practice questions. They give you other information like videos and stuff, but at that point, I already learned the material. I was 2 years in. I didn't need to keep watching the videos. I just needed the repetitions. So I would go through, I would bang out all those 20 questions for each one. So that was 60 questions in total. And that's what I did during my lunch break. And that's it. Closed it. Granted, of course, I did try to review if I had enough time. If not, that's where the evenings came in. So the evenings were going to be more of my low cognitive days, or time block rather. So after work, so between like 5:30 and like 7, I would review everything I got wrong that day. I would go through flashcards, and we're going to talk about that in a minute as well. And then what was I doing? That was pretty much it, right? And that's pretty much what my schedule looked like. So now let's segue into the mistakes. So starting off, the mistakes that I made was I was studying for a pre-licensing exam by Aceable Agent using Quizlet, while simultaneously using, and I'm not saying this is bad, this is really good stuff, but there's a time and place to use certain tools, and I was just trying using everything all at once. We got this test prep books, New York Real Estate flashcards. Great material. I did end up using this for my state exam. However, using this with Aceable Agents Quizlet, and also this other beats that I ended up purchasing, Barron's Real Estate Exam flashcards, 3rd editions. It was doing me a disservice. So I started doing well with Aceable Agent. I started including these flashcards. And mind you, folks, this has more than 450 cards. This one, when I counted, was like about 300 and something. what happened was I'm going through it, but now I'm getting different exposure, different wordings. And if you're trying to study and you're trying to prep for something, the last thing you need is terminologies being changed, right? You want to have one clear definition for something or one clear verbiage. It's not that these things were wrong. It's just they had a different way of wording it, right? And that was throwing me off. So at some point I had to make that executive decision. I think probably sometime in May, I was like, you know what? I got to stop. Like, this is too much. And again, I was creating this backlog that was just overwhelming. So after that, that's where I strictly focus on Aceable Agent. Now, I am not going to pretend like, and I told you last week, that I'm this authoritative person who knows everything. Folks, no. And honestly speaking, anybody who tells you they know everything probably doesn't know enough. The reason why I say that is because math is my biggest weak point. And sure enough, everything that I kept scoring low on when it came to Aceable Agent's practical exams were math-related things. So what I ended up doing was I leveraged AI. I said, you know what? I need to practice these formulations, but at this point, I need to expose myself as much as possible. So towards the end of June, I want to say, I ended up using AI for Quizlet. Downloaded the 107 formulas that Aceable Agent had, and I plugged it into Quizlet's AI. It generated all the flashcards for me. One thing that I've learned working in health IT is you always want to double check AI, right? Even if you don't work in health IT, you know that AI, you should know. If you don't, now you do. There's often a decent amount of AI hallucinations. AI can sometimes confidently give you the wrong answer. So do your due diligence. I did mine, and I went through and I just confirmed everything with the study guide. Took me a little bit of time, but in the long run, the last thing I needed was to memorize 107 formulas and find out that they were all wrong. So I did that, and what I ended up doing into that schedule is morning was the exam. So I did my practice exams. And that 30-minute block, I ended up switching over. So instead of reviewing what I got wrong, I would still review it, but my main priority was getting through as many of the flashcards as humanly possible. So there's 107. If my math is correct, I broke it up into 3 different blocks. So I try to do 35 flashcards. My goal was to rotate through all 107 every single day so I can memorize the formulas. That's what I was doing there. During lunch break, I would do the same exact thing. And then in the evening, I would passively do the flashcards. And I know that contradicts my schedule I gave you before. But again, this is once we transition to end of June, first 2 weeks of July is where I transitioned to that. So I was still doing those 3 study questions, but I ended up doing it in the afternoon, in the evening, to make life a little bit easier. So all in all, we ended up doing flashcards in the morning, 35 of them, just rapid fire, getting through as many as possible. We ended up during my lunch break doing the flashcards. Now, if I did finish early, all 35, I would steal maybe 1 topic or 2 topics to try to just ease the load by the end of the day. But the most important part for me was getting through those formulas, and more importantly, doing that practice exam in the morning, because the practice exam for some reason is very tiring. I can get through 20 questions if I really needed to. The 75 in one sitting is after a long day, it is what it is. So ultimately, fast forward. My scores, if I haven't already mentioned it, using Aceable Agent, again, it didn't keep everything I needed. So within ACE mode, we ended up getting a 80% on June 9th. There was a few other exams, but it doesn't give me all those scores. My official score was originally a 86, and I dropped to an 80, and I was like, ooh. Then it was a 92 on July 2nd. July 3rd was a 94. July 4th was a 90, and then we finished. The last one was a 97 on July 8th. And then that's pretty much where I say, you know what? I've been scoring pretty well. I've mastered more or less the math formulas, and then I passed it. So I ended up passing it with a passing grade. I think it was an 88. Definitely could have been a 90, but test day, we make stupid mistakes. And when I read through what I got wrong, I was like, oh, the easiest thing is what I got wrong. I misread it, but regardless, we passed it. So that's it. What happened that day? So that day, it has to be proctored, FYI. So you got to reach out to your local proctor agencies. Usually the libraries might have them for you. Set up an appointment, go in, take the exam. You have to use a special calculator. And by special, I mean a basic calculator. If you go in with anything else, you are going to have to do these math formulas on your own. Bring a pencil. I don't think you can bring paper. I think they give you paper just because they don't want you to be cheating. And that's it. And you just take it online and you get your results right there and then. Now, my experience is pretty great. I was very nervous about it, and I realized that I had nothing to worry about. Again, lean into the process, folks. You know more than you actually think. That day, that experience was pretty nice because coincidentally, I'm a religious person, so I'd say that God definitely had a part to play. But I met this individual who randomly was there, turned out to be somebody who works for a real broker, and pretty much put me on, and that kind of led me to a trajectory to research the company and eventually ultimately make the decision to join, because initially I had other plans. So that would be another episode. We'll talk about what that journey looked like. That journey was definitely a stressful journey. So we'll talk about what life looked like in that stage. But next week's episode. So next week's episode is what advice I got from this mysterious individual. That was definitely very helpful. And then we'll talk about the prep work for the state exam. All right. So with that being said, thank you so much, folks, for staying this long. I appreciate you all. Truly am blessed to be in this position. As always, stay safe, stay great, and I look forward to seeing you folks next week for the next episode. Take care.